hello everyone. Beth and I are back to talk about Sarah's Sustainability Action Plan. In today's session, we're actually shifting gears, taking a little different approach, and we're going to discuss social sustainability and equity. We have Gory with us today. He's one of our lead designers. To start, Gory, do you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and good morning, Beth. Yeah, I started at Sarah in 2006. I was only a student intern, so now going on to 14th year. I'm a senior project designer here at Sarah. During that time, I have been involved in sustainability research group, the projects in public studio, and projects in housing studio. And right now, I straddle both the public studio and housing studio.
That's great. And Beth is with me again today. We've been doing this series together, but Beth, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Beth Lavelle. I'm an architect in our housing studio and also a member of our sustainability resources group.
Great, thanks, Beth. And I am Mark Parapolitza. I'm a principal at Sarah and director of sustainability. We're doing this series to talk about our sustainability action plan. It's a document that outlines Sarah's sustainability vision and provides a framework for action in a broad range of interrelated topics. And we've broken it out and have been doing this series to kind of get into a little bit more detail each one of those. And do you want to talk a little bit more, Beth, about this category and how we're approaching this at Sarah?
Yeah, so as Mark pointed out on the compass, this impacts a lot of different categories. We think about it in kind of two big buckets: social sustainability on our projects, dig into, but social sustainability in our culture and office operations. We have a long history. Sarah's over a 50 years old organization. We have a long history of being really mindful about the impacts that our office and our employees have on the world. We've been talking about a lot of these things for a long time. Gender pay equity has been a huge focus. Every year we do a waste audit that looks at all the things that are coming into our office, all the objects that we bring in, and how those objects leave our office as waste or recycling or compost. We purchase carbon offsets every year for the energy that we use to heat and cool our office and run our machines. We give our staff transportation subsidies, which is not only good for public transit and reducing transportation emissions, but it's also an equity issue, making sure all of our staff have easy access to transportation and getting around our city. We have a really robust catering policy, which again is about supporting local businesses in our neighborhood, reducing waste, all of those impacts. We're really mindful of that. One of the ways we've just really started to demonstrate walking our talk is our recent JUST certification. Mark, can you pull up that label for us?
Yeah, sure.
So JUST is a third-party evaluation rating system that is put on by the International Living Future Institute. It's kind of, we think of it as a mirror for how we're doing in these 22 different indicators. So we went through this process. We had to really dig deep and analyze how we were doing in each of these categories. We uncovered a lot of things that we were doing well, and we uncovered some things that we have opportunities for improvement. As we were going through this, our whole mantra was that the process is more important than the score. Obviously, most organizations would love to be perfect at everything, but the process for us of holding up that, really looking at how we're doing and critically thinking about how we can do better was really important to us. And so we'll be updating this every other year to maintain our JUST label.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's really nice. It sort of is a very long and engaged process of applying this, and I think even more important than actually doing the documentation and sharing it has been the dialogue that this has created in the office. That's been super valuable. Let's talk a little bit about social sustainability and projects. Gori, do you want to talk a little bit about how you've been taking this on in projects?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about social sustainability, I want to touch on a couple of different things. One, advocacy and our approach itself in design, our pro bono contributions, the work that we do in the community, and also some of our other internal within the profession outreach advocacy work that we do.
That's great.
But first, let's talk about the legacy here at Sarah. And Beth touched upon it a little bit as well, just the general history of social advocacy and how we take social sustainability as a core piece. So as it's a huge part of Sarah's legacy. Bing Sheldon and Don Nicholson founded Sarah as a design collaborative. We're very much involved in the community in the Old Town, Chinatown area as well. Their legacy in the community is quite evident from the co-founding of Central City Concern to most recently, I remember, but just before Bing passed away, he was very, very key in starting the Portland Forward movement as a founding member. And so they've always set this tone. And in general, Sarah has always been a group of concerned designers and thinkers who are always thinking about, how we can do things better in the community, in the society, through our design. So we're tracking what Bing and Don started. So, for example, when I started, a team of my colleagues were involved in pair renovation. It's for the homeless youth as part of a 1% solution. Similarly, PICA, we did something like that for PICA as well. These projects very much inspired me. So when I got my opportunity, I got my peers to be involved in the similar 1% solution pro bono project for Multnomah Art Center gallery renovation. And that was very successful. And after that, our other colleagues after us kind of did similar pro bono project with the Portland Playhouse that has been quite talked about and published. So the first thing is this culture of providing pro bono design services to the community. That is a huge part of our social sustainability practice at Sarah. This involvement in pro bono projects really is a form of advocacy, if you will, and that translates into other design work and design framework that we do, right? So when it comes to design, so actual projects and work, our first lens on a design is obviously the context of the site. But when we say the context of site, really what we're primarily talking about is the social context first, and then there are all other, climatic and all these other urban contexts. But the social context is a big piece that we really care about. We have approached community-focused projects with this equity framework. And the equitable framework is all about designing conversations and charrettes with open canvas, allowing for all the concerned voices to be heard equally. It is about listening and validating rather than imposing ideas, right? That said, we concern ourselves with challenging our own paradigm as well, even in this way of looking at the framework, and so currently we're reviewing all these new strategies of critical race theory lens. How does that apply in our design work? So as an example for the past project, let's take Orchards of 82nd, the affordable housing project in the Jade District. We had 7 different listening, validating, reporting back sessions for the design development of that project with the local community, right? And the jurisdictional stakeholders were sort of at the side because we were really focusing on the community voice first. But before the project was even identified, there was a long Jade District visioning process where myself, Travis Tang, was involved along with APANO, Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon, in helping the local community in the Jade District articulate their needs. The first of the implementation of that visioning process was the Jade District Night Market, which became hugely successful, and then the Affordable Housing Project. So during the listening sessions, we were also revisiting a lot of during the listening sessions for the affordable housing, we were also revisiting a lot of the things that community put forth during the visioning process. Travis Tang, the lead designer, and the rest of the team did a wonderful job to inform the design based on that, right? So some of the key features are the front plaza to help bookend the night market, which was also came from the visioning process. The unit type, like when we were first doing the project, it was a lot of studios and one bedrooms, and what we heard is what the community really needs is family sized units. So that really informed the unit distribution and unit type in the project. We had a kids play area that was opened up so other neighborhood kids can also come and play. So really kind of creating a lot of that, and even within the units, providing generous windows for views and daylighting. All of that came out of this listening session. The Orchard of 82nd is just but one example in the continuum of Sarah's focus and passion on social sustainability. We're very involved in permanent supportive housing as well. It is true for affordable housing that the equity lens is made critical, but even so for permanent supportive housing, where trauma informed design is so much emphasized, right? So in the development of currently Baldwin permanent supportive housing project that we're working on, we've practiced this idea very well as um, even given the COVID times, we have really maintained the focus and priority of listening to the user group, the prospect residents, and doing the right outreach, both to the residents, with the residents, and with the staff who are going to be providing the services at this permanent supportive housing. So these are just some examples, and Beth mentioned a lot of the internal work that we're doing, which all contributes to our own self-analysis on these matters of, right now, we need to do a lot of self-analysis as well, just assessing our own privilege, our own access to resources, and what that means in our community with our clients who we work with and the user group that we work with, right? And speaking of access, we here at Sarah are very aware of the lack of diversity in the architecture, engineering, and construction field, AEC field. To complement the internal work that we're doing with Just and such that Beth mentioned, we're also doing a lot of just focusing on the industry in the Portland area. We have co-founded Room for More along with a few other firms. Room for More is really an advocacy collective of AEC professionals where we help enlighten and challenge each other about what it means to be BIPOC professional in this mostly white and mostly male profession. To help mentor other MWESB minority firms, we have a mentorship collaboration with local minority firms such as Convergence Architects, where we share technical know-hows and lessons learned, and also partner in business development efforts as well, right? So when time comes to talk about minority business participation, we're going beyond just checking the boxes. We're trying to really create an authentic relationship. Anyway, there are a lot more things we can be doing. And, these are some of the things we do very well. But like Beth mentioned, we're, constantly challenging ourselves to do more internally and also out in the community.
That's great, Gory. I really like the way you talk about that, and the kind of the weave between the project work doesn't stand alone or separate from advocacy and pro bono work. I mean, these are all kind of like part of the same topic, and kind of that holistic approach to them. So I think it's a very rich and authentic approach to it. And like you say, there's still opportunity and need to do so much more, but it's great to see these steps that you and others in the firm have been able to take to move this forward. So that's really great. Beth, do you want to, just as we kind of wrap up this session, are there any takeaways that you want to emphasize, or any other questions you want to put to Gory to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think something came to mind for me as I was listening to Gory talk about our process, and why we care so much about this is that we're really designing in our own backyards. We live and work and play in this city, and Gory lives in the neighborhood of Orchards of 82nd, the project he was talking about. Like that's why we care so much. We want to make our places better for everyone, in all of our neighbors in our communities. So it really helps us put a different lens on our work, I think, than if we were doing work in other cities that we weren't as familiar with.
Absolutely. That is true.
Yeah, that's great. Well, this has been a good discussion. Gory, any other final things that you wanted to comment on? Any takeaways you want to leave folks with?
Well, we have more to do, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just, it is
absolutely.
just that is the part that we have not forgotten at Sarah, that, work is not done, and we're constantly critical of our own approach and constantly improving and doing that self-analysis, right? I'm firm-wide self-analysis. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's really great. It's been such a, I mean, there's on one hand, there's this legacy of this and this work that's been happening for years. This past year, the conversation has really intensified and the focus has maybe shifted a little bit, but more than anything, it's kind of like a really deeper and more intense focus, which I think is healthy. I mean, at times I think, nationally has maybe at times been painful, but also healthy to take that hard look and to ask the difficult questions and try and actually go beyond just the conversation, though, and to try and put that into action.
absolutely.
So that's really fantastic. Thank you so much, Gory and
Thank you.
Beth, for the conversation this session today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We have, I think, one more. This is the fourth out of the 5 topics in this 6-part series. And so thank you for joining us, and hopefully you can join us for the last one as well. Thanks again. Take care.